So with Easter just past us, we're going to move forward bravely now into the future and take a look at the past, so to speak. On the channel, we've looked at the biggest of the big. Well, it's time we look at the smallest of the small. And we're going to begin doing that by looking at these guys. It is the G1 Micromaster Racecar Patrol. And they're going to be our focus in the latest GotBot True review. Hey all, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing fantastic. I'm your host, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share, and of course, subscribe. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, Transformers, Collectors, NL, and me everywhere. And this is the Autobot Racecar Patrol, even though I only think one of them is a race car, to be honest with you. Nevertheless, these are fun little figures and extremely colorful, at least this group is. I would say that this is probably one of the stronger groups, but of course don't take my word for it. Let's head over to the table and take a closer look at these guys. So while we've looked at the absolute biggest of the biggest here on the channel, I thought that it was high time we look at the smallest of the smallest, really, and kind of take a trip back to G1, and I didn't think it was any more fitting than now to take a look at the Micromasters, because of course we're getting these guys revisited in the Siege line, at least partially at this point. This, of course, is the Autobot Racecar Patrol, though I think it's a little iffy just how much of a set of race cars this is. Only about one of them really sort of fits that bill. And 2 out of the 4 of these guys have already been updated. Now, full disclosure, these are on loan to me by friend of the channel, Wayne, which means if we get the other 2 updated, we might not be able to do a side-by-side comparison because I'm gonna have to return these to him. Nevertheless, I'm sure we will be able to discuss it at the time. Nevertheless, here we have all 4 members in their G1 glory, and they're made up of Roadhandler, Free Wheeler, Swindler, and Tailspin. We'll kind of look at each one very quickly, briefly, starting with the leader of the group, Roadhandler. And now we have G1 Roadhandler and Siege Roadhandler. And in car mode, the Siege one is a really nice update. Granted, it doesn't have silver in the wheels like the G1 does, but you know, that's just a matter of manufacturing. But otherwise, like, it's a very truthful update. It probably looks a little sleeker because it doesn't have these, you know, bulbous hinge pieces here. That being said, just taking him out of it, this guy rolls really quite well. He looks tremendous. You know, big fan of how this turned out. In terms of conversion, naturally, it's very simple, where you fold down the legs, you flip back the hood, and you swing up the arms, and there you have him in all of his glory. Look, again, we can't really grade these kind of as we normally would. In fact, I'm not going to grade him separately. I'm just going to grade the entire set. That being said, the conversion is super simple. The car is very effective. The articulation in this mode, well, the arms can go up and down, not out to the side or anything. The head doesn't move. The legs don't go forward or back, but he does have knee bend, and like they're independent knees of each other, I guess. So that's a little something. And here he is with his updated Siege counterpart. And I'm just gonna move these guys over a little bit, get them centered up here a little more. But you can see that the Siege is a nice update, a real nice homage to this guy. There's no doubt about it. We have some black where there was originally some blue, but besides that, it's pretty darn close. The Siege, of course, has a little better articulation. This is an okay Siege mold. It's all right. Too bad it's paired with trash. That being said, the original G1 figure, hey, he was a fun little car. Speaking of said trash, here we are with Swindler. And the G1 Swindler is infinitely better than the Siege Swindler. I think the mold for Siege Swindler is inherently flawed because the shoulder ball pegs are just too small. There's almost no arm movement, which I can accept with G1 because it is what it is. I cannot accept it now. The technology is there to make a figure better than this. It was careless planning as far as I'm concerned, with poorly done ball joints, enough that I think that the updated Swindler is an atrocity. That being said, they do look pretty nice together. You can certainly see that this guy is an updated homage to this guy, no doubt about it, taking him out of it. Again, this guy rolls tremendously well. The conversion is pretty simple for this guy yet again. We come in here and, of course, as with all these guys, we fold the legs down and we move the chest down and we bring the arms up so that he looks like this. So we folded the chest down over his head, we kind of moved his arms out to the side, and we straightened out his legs, and he's an alright looking little robot, you know? Very, very simple little gray and blue dude, but like it's fine, you know, he's good. And here he is with the updated, and I'm using that term very loosely, Siege version. I think the G1 version is, like I said, infinitely better. Yes, the legs have more articulation than the Siege one, but the shoulders, not nearly as much. That being said, I guess it is a nice homage. The shoulders on the Siege one, as far as I'm concerned, they barely move. I can't get them to go all the way around without everything banging into something else. Like I said, the legs, infinitely better. Speaking of the articulation, just taking that guy out of it, I mean, this guy here, he has arms that can go, you know, all the way around cleanly. They don't come out from his body, but guess what? Neither do the Sieges. He has independent knees, but again, he can't really kick. Well, actually, he can kick forward. He can get in a seated position. Look at that. Maybe Swindler could do that too. I'm not sure. Maybe I spoke too soon when I said that he couldn't. Maybe he can, in fact, do just that. And just to verify, yes, Swindler can, in fact, get in a seated position as well. My mistake. So actually, a little more articulation on these little guys than I thought. Now, that being said, we've looked at Swindler, we've looked at Roadhandler. They're the only two who have had updates so far. One successful, one not successful, but that's not it for this team. We have two other members, that being Free Wheeler and Tailspin. And to me, Free Wheeler is a nice looking sports car. Not a race car. I wouldn't call this a race car. Perhaps it could be made into a race car, but that's not what I think of when I see this. I think sports car. Of course, he, like all these, have legs that fold down, a little different than the other ones though, and he has a hood section that folds back, and there you go. Now, can he get in a seated position? Maybe he can? It's very tight, but he can do it. It's very tight. I don't want to push it because this isn't mine. The arms, of course, go forward. He has independent knees, just like all of them. You know, he's a nice looking boy as far as I'm concerned. A nice looking boy. Respectable lad. What with his nice warm color scheme of reddish, orange, and yellow. And that leaves one member. The only member who I do believe is actually a race car. That being our little blue boy Tailspin here. And without any further ado, we put down his legs, flip back his hood. I'd love to get an update of this dude. I really would. Really would like to get an update of this dude. His whole front section flips back, the legs flip down. He has the exact same movement as all these guys. He rolls like a champion in vehicle mode. He's a nice looking car. I dig him. I absolutely dig him. So what about the whole team? Well, with only a couple of minor variations, they really all convert the same way. Flip down the legs, kind of push the arms forward a little bit to distinguish that they're arms, and maybe flip back a hood piece to some extent. Different extent for different guys. Although in the case of Swindler, his hood piece doesn't flip back, it flips down over his chest. Here's the thing. Colors, they look great. It's a very colorful, bright looking team. It looks fantastic. So, I don't know, 10, I guess. In terms of conversion, they're super simple. You can flick them back and forth. Kids can have fun with these guys. They're just plain fun. 10, I guess, for transformation. I mean, they're not exciting. It's not dynamic. It's not something that you're really going to be able to get into like a puzzle. But it's just like a fun little kind of fidget toy. It's just something you can play with at your desk at work, whatever. So yeah, 10. Articulation, well, I mean, you got to consider the time for what it was. Truth is, they can get in a seated position. Honestly, you know what the articulation is here? Very similar to what we got with Titan Masters and Prime Masters. You know, it's not quite as good as probably modern day Micromasters, because modern day Micromasters at least have better legs, if nothing else. I'm looking at you, Swindler. But honestly, like, their ability to get into positions is as good, at least, as Titan Masters or Prime Masters. Now, while I was kind of not into Titan Masters and Prime Masters so much, and said that their articulation was maybe a 2, because these guys don't have their lower legs connected, so you can kind of at least bend one knee at a time, even though the knees are connected. But while you can bend one knee at a time, I'd say that the articulation for the time was maybe a 5 for the time. For the time. And of course, these guys were precursors to the explosion of articulation that we would really get during the later RID or Car Robots line, but especially the Beast Wars line. These guys came just before that. So overall score, I don't know, 8, 9. They're pretty great if you're into these diminutive little guys. I think it's a nice set. And so here we are once again, and this is a pretty strong group, coming in at about an 8, I guess, overall for this group. Like, in terms of the update, I think that Swindler is an atrocious update. Roadhandler is an excellent update. I'd like to get the other two, if they can be done well. Will we get them? Who knows? But even if we don't, I think that the G1 versions of these guys, I mean, they're every bit as good as Titan Masters. And for as small as what they are, about the size of a Titan Master, I think they still kind of hold up today. I really like this group, and I love the color scheme that they went with here. Let me know what you think about these guys. You know, I'd love to hear from you guys. As always, please, I'm going to say, hit that subscribe button again. It helps me out so very much. I appreciate you giving me some of your extremely valuable time, and I very much look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit right here inside the videos.